Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Come for the video games, stay for the memories. We're currently wrapping up all the video games released at sometime in November 1982.
Where everybody knows your name.
We were last playing Leapfrog on the Volt Mace database home console of all places. And if you think that's the weirdest place we'll go, just wait till you see what we have tonight. Let's see what our next game is. Oh, more on the Atari home computer. This is Tact Trek. Interesting. Trek, but I didn't hear the siren that we're going to be playing another a whistle game for the Star Trek game. It has to be a Star Trek style game, right? It has Trek in the title. Let's take a look at the box for Tact Trek. This is only on the Atari home computer, and it is the 412th game we've played for this home computer. Tactical level interstellar combat. It sounds just like Star Trek. It's got to be a Star Trek game, right? Teens and up? Yeah, that sounds about right. This is another one by the Atari Program Exchange, the 43rd game we've seen that I'm so glad they did this. This whole formula of just getting people to put in games and then release them, and anyone can make a game if they want to. Just send it to Atari. Maybe you'll get some royalties. I actually am not sure exactly how that works. Did you make a lot of money putting your games to Atari Program Exchange or not? There's the example of the 5 1/4 floppy disk. It's by Robert Zittabel. Way to go, Rob. And there's the example of the screenshot. The Atari Program Exchange has done some really good games so far. We've seen Caverns of Mars, Eastern Front 1941, Getaway, Phobos, Galahad and the Holy Grail, Meltdown, Micro Sailing, Snark Hunt, Caterpillar, Digger Bonk, just to name a few. There's been some classics, and there's going to be a really good one coming up later on in the 80s too that I'm already excited about. So I'm not familiar with Tact Trek, but it is not a Star Trek variant, not one of the 1971 mainframe games. So let's see what this is. What do you got for us? So this is by Robert Zittabel. This is the 7th game we've seen by Rob. He's done games like Centurion, Stellar Track for the Atari 2600, and then Missile Command for both the Atari home computer and the Atari 5200. So he has games under his belt, so I'm expecting something amazing. This is the same manual we've seen for a lot of games by APX. I'm breezing through the table of contents, but you can see in a precarious spare moment of reflection, you recall how thrilled and overwhelmed you were as a kid watching the launching of the first space shuttle from Cape Kennedy. Wow, they got lore and story. Wow, they got the United Nations here. You've been playing Tact Trek, still enjoying a passing Sunday afternoon fighting off those enemies. The simulations are uncanny in their similarity to the real thing. What continues to fascinate you is that Tact Trek is a real-time, tactical-level combat game, a trained captain pilot each well-armed enemy spaceship. Deep in interstellar space, you, the battle-scarred Enterprise commander, expertly track the enemy, fire your weapons at just the right moment. And so, yeah, it still sounds like a Star Trek variant, but it is not. This one is a different tactical game. You make a mental note to play a game when you get back to Earth this weekend. Oh, that's nice. There's the requirements or the accessories. If you got them all, we don't have all the accessories, but we got enough where you can play the game. There's the setup. And when you load this first screen, it's going to ask how many opponents, and we'll see that when we get there. Here's the main display, breaking down everything, because if it's a tactical game, you better be ready to use your brain and your mind and your head. All of them. Few seconds, wait for the screen. In this session, all examples, you can see we're going to be facing one enemy starship, the Krieger, it says on this one. So if it is using Star Trek homage, it's not going to be using things like Klingon. Yeah, Manly, that's right. I saw him say Kobayashi. It's not the Kobayashi Maru, it's the Kobayashi Tact-True. That's what this is. We can use sensor scans, and we have the symbols on the screen because everything's going to be done in ASCII. So you can see the plus symbol is the starship, K, W, and V are enemy spaceships. And so what this is it's not a full-scale Star Trek sim or the other Star Trek variants. This one is just a tactical sim. You one ship, and then you decide how many other ships you want to face against. And it's just you and another ship moving in the right sector and blowing each other or fighting each other tactically. So there's no arcade things going on here. There is no joystick. I don't believe we can plug anything in and it won't work. You can see you can use sensor scans and take your turns tactically moving the ship tactically around. And it has the command window of all the different commands you can use and how you're supposed to make your way around. It's using the, you can see a degree system to move around, absolute direction in terms of where your sensor goes. This actually looks like we're doing some algebra if you were to read the manual, but we've seen this before. It's part of the course for tactical games, at least here in November 1982. And here's all the commands. You can fire phasers, and it tells you how to do that. You're going to be using all the keyboard for this. Firing photon torpedoes. Oh, okay, so that's Star Trek. You got launch probes you can send out. You can lock on phasers. You lock photon torpedoes. You can probe control your computer. You can load and unload torpedo tubes and then maneuver, dodge. And again, all this is happening when you're typing in the commands. You can also scan for different things, alter power distribution. And then if you're successful, it's very difficult, by the way, if you play against the computer. But you can play against one human opponent if you have a friend that wants to read the manual just like we did. So, and then it has a suggestive strategy, which is very, very helpful and friendly. And then an appendix to the manual, which we rarely see, which shows you the detail. Look at this. Wow. And there it is. The not Enterprise whatsoever in the manual. They're calling it the Enterprise. So they're bold. And then as usual, at the end, I think it has, yeah, the APX Program Exchange review form. How would you review the game? Well, we're going to rate the game. I'll let you review or fill out that form. Let's pop it and play Tact Trek by Robert Zittabel Atari and Atari Program Exchange, released at sometime in November 1982. Let's just go right into it. I'm expecting something really, really good. Tactic or turn-based tactic games are kind of rare. This is the 10th game we've seen so far on Chronologically Gaming that's this style of game. This is based on Star Trek. We saw the Enterprise that's out there. This is the 76th Star Trek fan game that we've seen thus far on Chronologically Gaming. It's kind of refreshing, though, that it's not a 1971 mainframe Star Trek game. All right, so Tact Trek, created using Forth or Fig Forth. Nice. The author encourages nonprofit, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then look at this over there in the bottom left. You see the date? It actually says December 3rd, 1982. So way to go, Rob. We don't play exactly at that time, but that'll work for us. All right, there's the commands. We can fire photon phasers. Write all those down. Make sure you know all the commands. Now, it's going to ask us, do we have a human opponent? I'm going to say, yes, we do. And then how many total opponents do you want? So you and a friend can play, taking turns back and forth, or real, turn-based, or you can have a third computer opponent that's going in. So I'm actually going to say 3 so you can see what the computer does. This is very, very difficult to win. It's best to start with playing as 2 people and seeing what happens after that. So this one is going to be an interesting play session because here on the show, doing a live session with these kind of tactical games, it's very difficult to do. So it starts off with the command, and the best way to do this is I'm going to go ahead and start with command 8. I'm going to warp myself using warp 1. I want to pursue the enemy, yes. Pursue whom? I'll pursue the Krieg. Oh, wait, no, I'll pursue the Varner. And then warp factor 1. So I will be pursuing them. And you notice there's very tiny symbols representing who you are. So it is taking a little bit of time to get used to. And you do have to spend some time in the manual. We didn't spend that much time, but you'd have to spend a lot of time really diving in if you want to enjoy the game. All right, Krieger's turn. So this would be our other friend. Wait, am I Krieger? I thought I was Krieger. All right, so we do the command there. Let's do the same one. Command 8. Pursue the enemy. Yes. Let's both pursue the Varner. And then warp factor 1. You can do 1 to 11 if you want to. Or a negative 11. And then their warrior's turn. Looks like warrior. Let's do the same. Let's go with command 8. Pursue the enemy. Yes. And pursue Varner. Yeah, warp factor 1. And it's going through each time you decide your turn. In a way, it's not really a war game because it's on a very small scale. You're not commanding fleets of ships. It's just one ship at a time. And all you have to do is send the command to that ship. And then Varner's turn. They do their turn. So let's do a lock on phasers. Let's do command 4. Auto tracking, yes. And then track whom? Let's have Varner track warrior. And then, yes, lock phasers. Lock on. Yes. There you go. You see it turn just a little bit. It's redrawing the screen every time. But this is the tactical sim. This is your kind of experience playing a turn-based tactical game. Most of the time we've seen war games, games by SSI, Avalon Hill, and so forth. So it's kind of refreshing to play something that is just you controlling one ship for everything that's up. Oh, and Marshall said, props to Rob writing this in Forth. Yeah, right? It's pretty impressive right now. And here in November 1982, programming this game. All right, so what command do we want after that? Let's go ahead and do lock on phasers, auto tracking, yes, and then track the Varner. Yes, lock those phasers. But this is how the game's played. You're going to go turn by turn. We're pretending like we're playing with another human opponent too. And all you're doing is making the decisions, sending the commands to your ship, and then watching the progress. It is slow, like we've seen with other tactical strategy games, but you would have some enjoyment of this if this is your kind of cup of tea. We're not going to be playing too much, obviously, of Tact Trek, but it's refreshing that it's not a true 1971 mainframe Star Trek game. So there is other commands. You saw the list that you could be doing, and you'd have to mess around and play with them. But this is actually, as I'm playing the game, I realized that this is based on a game that was on mainframe in 1973 called Trek 73, which was just pretty much like this. It had mostly ASCII characters. It was all in black and white on mainframe. And if you want to get more information on this style of tactical game, or how it's based on Trek 73, I'm going to send a link down below for Wargaming Scribe. He played that mainframe game because it's going to be re-released on MS-DOS, I believe, in the mid 80s, and we'll see that one too. But this is how the game would be playing. We just go turn by turn after that. That's a difficult one to play and showcase on a live show because anything tactical and strategy, you got to spend hours just to be able to start your initial play of the game. And then after that, you could spend months having a great time with Tact Trek. I'd say of all the games you could play right now, it is slower, it's a little more cumbersome, but I'd still say around the average range for everything else you could play on home computers, you'd find some enjoyment for this. It's not as heavy hitting, and it's obviously an antiquated concept if it's based on Trek 73 from 1973. That's almost 10 years old, or at least the idea. So I know in the chat, everyone's most likely going to say, how in the world do you rate this game? Because you'd have to play it for a very long time, and you'd have to play it yourself to get used to how it goes. I do see a 3.5. Marshall saying for this kind of style, Jeremiah's throwing out 3, and Manly saying beam me up with a 3.5 star rating. I won't be as generous. I'm still saying around average for all the games you could play. Tact Trek is a good time. You'd enjoy it, but there's not doing anything really that would be something beyond everything we've seen up to this point. There's a lot of games out there. I did say there wasn't as many turn-based tactical games, though, but we played plenty of strategy games, war games. All right, after that, let's see what our next game is. All right, coming up next is Takara BD Adventure on the Sharp MZ. Now, this is another game for this line of home computers. Oh, man, we got a lot to unpack with this. This is the box or the artwork for this game. This one is only available on the Sharp MZ line of home computers, and it's the 34th game we've seen for this line of home computers. Right now, you could be playing games on the 80B, the MZ2000, the MZ3500, the 80K series, which this is essentially the 80K series, the MZ700, or the MZ1200, which you can see right here on the front of the box. So this one's by Microcabin. It's the 6th game we've seen by Microcabin. They did games like Mystery House Volume 1 and Volume 2. And this one's by Akimasa Tako. This is the first game we've seen by Akimasa Tako, and it might be the very first game that he's ever done. He will eventually go on to do the game Shenmue, or be one of the programmers for Shenmue, way later in the future, which we may not even get to on the show. So this is the humble beginnings, again, of Japanese developers doing things behind the scenes that most people didn't even know about. All right, so this game was advertised in a few different places. This is an ad showing you some screenshots of Takara BD Adventure, which is also known as Building Adventure. It is another graphic text adventure, possibly the second. It may even be the first text adventure because, the dates on these are a little bit rough. But when I say graphic text adventure, I mean it's a text adventure with some pictures. So you can see they're showing the pictures. And this one apparently came in a part 1 and a part 2, very similar to Microcabin's Mystery House. Now, I have another article that's here from another magazine. This one is from the Technopolis magazine. And this was from 1983, showing several different games, including Mystery House. It's at the top left or top right of the magazine. But it also has the Takara BD Adventure. The reason I'm showing all this and all these details is because this game is yet another game that is so rare that not only could I not find the game myself to play, I found no one playing the game. There's no footage of someone else playing. All I have is screenshots. This is an example of a screenshot on one of the Sharp MZ home computers, and you can see it has graphics, pictures that you can play. The whole point of the game is you're exploring the building, at least part 1. I believe you're going to the top of the building, then part 2, you're going to the bottom of the building. And then you can see this is on the Sharp, it looks like the Sharp MZ80B, the business computer in monochrome. And that's all I have. There it is, the Takara Building Adventure by Microcabin. And it's very quaint for Japan because the graphic text adventure for all the games we've seen up to this point, this would have been the 66th game we've seen thus far, and the 7th that would have been available in Japan after Mystery House 1 and 2, and a Spy Datsakusen, which we've also seen. So Japan is new to this adventure genre with some pictures instead of just using text. Yes, right? Thanks, Marshall. We hope you be success. So I'm only showing the pictures because that's all we have to go on, or at least all that I could muster and find online. There's not anything else that I'm able to play or do with the game. So because of that, I have to give this one a 0, or we're not going to be able to rate it. It has no rating because we couldn't play it ourselves. If you can find even someone playing this video footage of Takara BD Adventure, then send it my way because that's all we got. All right, so after that, going to Japan, let's see what's next. We're hopping all over the place. We're now going to the United Kingdom to play on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. This is Take 4. Yeah, just like Connect 4. Not a lot of info for this one. This one is just a few screenshots. So let's pop in and play Take 4 by Clive Brooker, published by Simon Microsoft. Not that kind of Microsoft. In November 1982. Sometime in November 1982. Take 4, the computer simulation. All right, so player 1 plays red. Go. You can put your name in. That's pretty cool. Last person in chat was Marshall. So you can put in 2 names. That's fun. And it's, look at that. Connect 4. This marks the 142nd game we've played on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. And the second time we've seen Clive Brooker and Simon Microsoft. Both of the games we've seen were free, but not really free. This one may have been a free game or not a free game, but it apparently was copyrighted. The only other game we've seen by him was Car Chase, also for the ZX Spectrum. All right, so this one, all I had to do is push enter. It is automatically moving the pieces around, and you have to have someone else. So if Marshall was here, we'd have to hot seat it, he'd have to push enter, and then we'd take turns playing Connect 4. Easy as that. Yep, just have to hit enter at the right time. It's like the slowest, boring timed input game. This is the 8th time we played a video game version of Connect 4. And one of the best ways you could play is on the Texas Instruments home computer Connect 4. I'm just going to pretend I'm dumb and block, or not do any blocks, and just let someone win. Yeah, Marshall mentioned my English accent went away. Wait, hold on. That should have been 4 in a row, right? Why are we still going? Is this game not even working correctly? Do you have to get 4 in a row vertical? Then it wouldn't be Connect 4. I'm very confused. But you do only need 1 button to play this game. Enter is all you need. It's automatically moving back and forth. So this is yet again another 1-button video game. It's the 14th 1-button video game we've seen thus far. Games like Space War on the RCA Studio 2. You only needed 1 button to play. Or Donkey. They're one of the pack-in games for DOS, MS-DOS. Oh, come on, that's 4 in a row. Maybe there's not instructions. It's way more than 4 in a row. Now I think the whole game's totally broken. There also was a mode of this, or a 1-button game on Sharp Shot on the Intellivision. This is totally broken. Oh, there we go. Curtis mentions that it might be we have to fill the whole playfield, and whoever has sets up the most Connect 4s. Okay, that's true. It could have been that style version. So that means I won't call the game broken. James just changes his mind to 1.5 stars of all the games you could play. So 1 button is a novelty. It's fun, but you know there's way better and more fun games you can be playing on home computers. The presentation though does look like Connect 4, which they should be following the same rules as the commercial that's over there on the left. Not associated with real Milton Bradley Connect 4. So of all the games you can be playing across all home computers, it's actually a variant of Connect 4. It's not exactly Connect 4. I'd still say this is bad for all the games you could play. Very simple. You'd have to have someone else to play. There is no artificial intelligence. Yeah, looking over in the chat, gosh, some low scores. Yeah, right? We'd have to keep playing even longer to know for sure, Curtis, if it's following different rules. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go even lower than I thought. I was thinking around the bad range, 2 stars, 1.5, something like that. But I might go lower. Looking over in the chat, we got some really low ones. Brad's actually throwing out 2, but I see Marshall with 1.5. Yeah, it's of all the games you could play on all home computers, it's rough. I'm gonna have to say, because we don't know for sure what the rules it's following, I'm gonna go 1 star in the broken range. All right, now without further ado, our next game is Tank Battalion on the Sword M5. Let's check out and play some Tank Battalion. Here's the box. Oh, yes. That's looking pretty slick. That actually looks like the same artwork we saw in the arcades. This is the third game we've seen in the Tank Battalion series, maybe officially, slightly unofficially. We first saw it in the arcade in October 1980. So this is an arcade game ported home. We did see a game called Tanks a Lot, which is of, most people make fun of it on the show. We say, thanks for coming, thanks for the great memories, you know. Tanks a Lot on the Arcadia 2001 we saw in June 1982. Tanks a Lot was essentially the same game as Tank Battalion. And then here it is, now officially on the Sword M5. Look at that. Oh, we got the back of the box too. This is awesome. I think this is the first time we've seen the back of a Sword M5 box. Blue tanks representing the enemy pressing on your position, shaking the earth as they come. You, as lone defender, must check their offensive, and the action soon turns from intense street fighting to a heroic battle to the death. The drama builds as you're forced to make difficult strategic decisions, score big points through close-range combat, or lay back and pick them off as they come. A game of combat demanding courage, skill, and resolute will survive. Tank Battalion. So it's showing the keyboard here too, and the hand controller is what we refer to it. It looks like the disc on the Intellivision. But I'm wondering if you look on the back of the box, it's showing a Japanese address, but it's all in English. So I'm wondering if this was a European or British release, because the Sword M5 wasn't only in Japan. It's just right now we're playing the releases when they were first came out. But pretty slick. I dig the box. All right, what other artwork do we have for Tank Battalion? This is the 6th game we've seen for the Sword M5 home computer, and a majority of them have been Namco. We only played one game by Konami. That was the Super Cobra. There's the cartridge that will pop in to play some Tank Battalion. Oh, nice. And the copyright Namco. We've seen the cartridges have the Japanese text for Namco, and so this is real. Oh, back of the cartridge, too. Look at that. It shows you the same operating keys. And it says 1 or 2 players. Darn, it gives you the illusion that you can play with 2 people at the same time, but sadly, you cannot. You're going to take turns like you did in the arcade. Yes, and Kun mentions the street fighting comment. Why did they say street fighting? Because that makes you think of something totally different. All right, let's pop in that cartridge and play Tank Battalion by Namco, published by Sword or Takara at some time in November 1982. I'm excited for this one. All right, so this one is Namco's 34th game that we've seen thus far. 34 games that Namco's done up to this point. Oh, it loads the same. We have the screen with 1 or 2. I'll go ahead and push 1. Cool. And then we're in. We're playing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just make my way around. I'm already getting the feels that we've seen and played this before in the arcade. And, I mean, it's obviously a variant of Tank. We said that when we saw Tank Battalion originally in the arcades. And then Tanks a Lot plays pretty similar to this, too. So right now, Namco is killing it. In the arcade, they've given us games like Galaxian, King and Balloon, Pac-Man, Rally X, Galaga, Bosconian, Pole Position, and Super Pac-Man, things like that. On the Commodore VIC-20, they brought Pac-Man and Rally X home. It was renamed Jelly Monsters and Radar Rat Race. On the Atari 2600, we got Pac-Man. On the Atari home computer, we got Pac-Man and Galaxian. And on the Atari 5200, we got Pac-Man and Galaxian. And this is Namco's 5th game that they've done on the Sword M5 thus far, that we've seen on the show. So you've seen how the game works. You're supposed to be protecting at the bottom that, we called it the Nazi gold, or the treasure. Make sure the tanks do not break in and blow that up. So I'm already feeling and remembering whenever I played this in the arcades, the way that it controlled, it was actually a little slower in the arcade. The frame rate seemed to be slower, but right here, look at this. It's actually moving smoother than it did when we saw it in 1980. But, you know, it was 2 years ago. I'm also kind of cheesing the tanks because I'm shooting their bullets to cancel them out, but it works. And so it makes a fun objective to play. You have to make sure no one gets to the bottom or blows that up, and then move on to the next stage. Oh, nice. So this stage is looking a little bit different. And this is just classic arcade. One screen, kind of like a top-down maze game, but then has the shooting mechanic. It's also controlling with absolute control. It's not doing tank controls that we've seen with a few other games that are similar to Tank and Combat and things like that. So yeah, this one's running and playing pretty good. We call these vehicular combat games or arcade maze games. And this is the 23rd game we played that plays like this so far. One of the first ones we saw was Laser Command in 1976, you know, of course, after the official tank, and then Targ and Solar Fox are some examples too. I also was very impressed that this was the first time that here on Chronologically Gaming we played any game that had freely destructible terrain. Like, I'm able to destroy the walls. So when we first saw this tank battalion, it was very impressive. First one we ever saw. Now, this is the 15th game we played with freely destructible terrain. I'm able to drive around and shoot, you know, and blow up the walls if I want to. Yeah, so you'd have a good time, just like we did in the arcades. It's really fun. So Tank Battalion was one of the first that we could destroy things, but we've also played games like Artillery. We played Centipede. You know, you can blow the mushrooms up, and Millipede. We played a game called Nautilus, we just mentioned by Synapse Software. Buried Bucks on the Atari home computer is another one that has freely destructible terrain. And then another recent one was Smithereens, or Stone Sling, that allows you to blow and tear walls away. So it's still fun. It still is really, really cool. This is the 55th game we played where you're commandeering a tank as your vehicle, and that's on all systems so far. This is a variant of tank that we saw, you know, in 1975 or I believe 74. This is the 32nd time we played a variant of tank up to this point, and we first saw a tank in the arcade November 1974. Since then, we played lots of games like Combat on the Atari 2600, and lots of consoles have taken the tank formula and made their own tank-style game. Besides some of the best ways you could play tank or variants of tank right now are games like Blasto in the arcade or on the Texas Instruments home computer, and then also Tank Attack on the Creativision, and A Tank on the Atari home computer, and Ultimate Tank on the Commodore VIC-20, which was the first time we ever saw a two-player split-screen cooperative video game ever. Ultimate Tank is the ultimate. And then we also played Tank Arcade with a K. ARKADE is another example of a tank-style game. So this is pretty good. I'm gonna go in again and see if I can play even further, because I want to see if it goes to any other levels besides this one. Go ahead and push number 1. If you push number 2, sadly, it's going to be taking turns hot seat arcade style, so you don't get to play simultaneous tanks driving around. Yeah, this actually is improved over the arcade original. The graphics aren't quite as large, but it's much smoother gameplay. The movement of the tank. The graphics look a little squashed, you know, smaller than they were, and it seems narrower. I feel like I'm in narrower tunnels than I was in the arcade. But still, this is enjoyable, this is fun. Of all the games to play on the Sword M5, it's got a lot of competition, but this is going to be going against everything you could play on all other home computers right now. I'd say this is still a winner. I would pit this above average for all the games you could play on all home computers right now. It's pretty good. Oh yeah, if they get the prize at the bottom, yeah, you can see they busted off the side over there. So I'm going to let one of them see if the right side makes their way down and blows it up. Yeah, but it's still fun to play. Every now and then I can get caught on the corner, but it's not too bad. When you think of all the other games you could be seeing and playing up to this point, it's not too bad. We'll see if we'll let this guy come through. Oh, Jeremiah's asking about how many different versions of the Key Games tank we played. Well, we played the original, the very first one, and then we played Tank 8, the one that you could have 8 people playing tank at the same time. Very, very impressive by Atari and Key Games. And I know there was other versions, but we didn't play all of them. I've been adding to the backlog even more games from the 70s that we're going to be tackling before we hit 1983. But that's about it as far as what we've seen so far. This guy needs to hurry up. All right, I'll just shoot him. Yeah, so I like how it plays. It's pretty good. There we go. Looking all right. Blow that one up. Oh, come on, dude. Yeah, it does seem that way. It seems like it's smaller and more confined than what we saw in the arcade. But even then, in the arcade, the most impressive part was the freely destructible terrain that made up for it. And notice that the enemies are constantly coming in, but it gives me really great home arcade feels. It's just it's been done before, and so I wouldn't rate it anything higher than 4 if I had my way. Yeah, and Steve's bringing up Battle City. Oh yes, we're gonna see Battle City soon too. All right, so there's our taste of Tank Battalion for the Sword M5. It's good. It's very good. It's not like the best of the best for the Sword M5, but I mean, there's only 6 games we've seen so far for this home computer. But this combination of the Texas Instruments CPU with the sound on several systems, it's very well done. For all the games you could play across all home computers, yeah, I'm already seeing mostly above average. Anyone say anything 3? Yeah, Brad's saying average, Steve 3, Charlie 3. Mostly there's some averages, and I see some above averages, 3.5s for all the games you could play up to this point for all games on home computers. I do enjoy that you're moving from level to level, and I wanted to see more. What other levels or options are we going to see for the maze that you can go through? That's true. And Charlie's saying it's too easy because you can shoot their shot and cancel it out. It would have been more enjoyable if they added a 2-player option, because even in the arcade, this was hot seat multiplayer. You didn't get to play at the same time. So I'd still say 3.5 stars, above average for all the games you could play across all home computers, but this could have been greater. This could have easily been a 4 or around the best of the games you could ever played on any home computer, but it's not. They are trying to keep it a little true to the arcade, so I understand that. But I'll say 3.5 stars for everything up to this point. Well done. Keep going, Sword M5. What else you got? All right, that's where we got to put our video game playing on pause. Thanks so much for joining me here on the live show. If you are here for the live show, I see you over there, and I'm so glad that you're here witnessing history, us playing every single video game in order of release. It's great being able to catalog and see the slow evolution of video games, because then we can look back and really have a better understanding of where these games sit with everything else that's available out there. If you didn't make the live show, then just leave a comment down below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Next time on Chronologically Gaming, Tron on the Commodore PET, and Pixel Productions is bringing us another weird, bizarre video game, so get ready. We also have an unlikely MS-DOS game, and a game called Time Trek, which means another Star Trek variant. That's it for today, and like I always say, we play so many games that when we come across a game that we can't play, we already know what it's about. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are Perpetually Retro, and we will catch you next time.